You know what the worst part about betrayal is? It's not the act itself. It's the moment you realize that the person who stabbed you in the back is someone you helped stand up in the first place, someone you fed when they were hungry, someone you sheltered when they had nowhere to go, someone you trusted with the most precious thing you had left in this world, your daughter and your grandchildren. My name doesn't matter anymore. What matters is what happened at my retirement dinner 18 months ago. What matters is what my son-in-law said in front of 73 people. I counted them later. Every single face that laughed, and what I did about it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to the beginning, back to when Marcus first walked into our lives. Um, it was 7 years ago. My daughter Sarah brought him home for Sunday dinner. I remember it because it was raining that day, one of those heavy summer rains that makes everything smell like earth and possibility. He showed up in a cheap suit that was too big for him, carrying a bottle of wine that probably cost $8, and he couldn't look me in the eye when he shook my hand. My wife, God rest her soul, she saw something in him. She always saw something in people that I missed. "He's nervous, honey," she whispered to me in the kitchen while I was carving the roast. "He's nervous because he loves her, because he wants us to like him. Give him a chance." So I gave him a chance. I gave him more than a chance. I gave him everything. When he married Sarah 2 years later, I paid for the wedding. Not because they asked. They didn't actually. They were planning something small, something they could afford. But I saw my daughter's face when she looked at those wedding magazines, saw her trying to hide the disappointment when she talked about a courthouse ceremony and a dinner at Olive Garden. So I wrote the check, $32,000 for a wedding at the Riverside Country Club with the string quartet and the ice sculpture and the prime rib that Marcus's family raved about for months afterward. His mother hugged me that night, cried on my shoulder. "You've given our boy the wedding we could never afford," she said. "You've made him feel like he matters." He matters, I thought. He matters because he's going to be family. Family. That word used to mean something to me. When Sarah got pregnant with their first child, my first grandchild, Marcus came to me one evening. It was late spring, the kind of evening where the light stays golden until almost 9 o'clock. We were sitting on my back porch, the one I built with my own hands 40 years ago, and he was fidgeting with his beer bottle, picking at the label. "I need to talk to you about something," he said. I waited. That's something I've learned over 70 years of living. Sometimes the best thing you can do is wait. Let people find their own words. "We're struggling," he finally said. "The baby's coming, and Sarah wants to take a full year of maternity leave, but with just my income," he trailed off. Looked out at the yard where my wife's rose bushes were starting to bloom. "We're going to lose the apartment." I didn't hesitate. "How much do you need?" "I can't ask you for how much," he told me. $15,000 to catch up on rent, hospital bills, and have a cushion for when the baby came. I wrote him a check the next morning, told him it was a gift, not a loan, told him that family takes care of family, and that's what we do. That's what we've always done. My wife squeezed my hand when I told her. "You're a good man," she said. "You're giving them a chance to be good parents." 3 months later, when Marcus came to me again, this time about wanting to buy a house before the baby came, about wanting to give his family stability, I didn't hesitate then either. I gave them the down payment. $65,000. It was the majority of what I'd saved for retirement, the money I'd been setting aside for 40 years of working at the plant, but I told myself it was worth it. My grandson would have a backyard to play in. My daughter would have a home. Marcus cried when I handed him the check. Actual tears. "I don't know how to thank you," he said. "Take care of my daughter," I told him. "Take care of my grandson. That's how you thank me." He promised he would. He promised. My wife died 3 years ago. Pancreatic cancer. 6 weeks from diagnosis to the funeral. I don't like talking about it, but I have to, because you need to understand what that did to me, what that took from me. She was my world, my anchor. the person who made sense of everything when nothing made sense. And suddenly she was gone, and I was 70 years old, standing in an empty house that echoed with memories and silence. Sarah and Marcus were good to me then. I'll give them that. They invited me over for dinner every Sunday, let me babysit my grandsons. By then, they had two. Little Michael had been born a year before Martha got sick. They called to check on me, included me. I thought it was love. I thought it was family. But looking back now, I can see it differently. I can see that they were scared that the old man who'd bankrolled their entire adult life might be getting ready to write a will, might be getting ready to make decisions about who gets what when he finally kicks it. They weren't taking care of me. They were protecting their investment. But I didn't see it then. Then I was just a grieving widower who was grateful not to spend every evening alone with his grief and his memories and his wife's empty chair at the dinner table. After Martha died, I threw myself into being a grandfather. It was the only thing that made sense, the only thing that made me feel like I still had a purpose. I picked the boys up from school 3 days a week, took them to baseball practice and piano lessons, sat through every school play and science fair. I was there for every birthday party, every Christmas morning, every skinned knee and bad dream. I set up college funds for both of them, $25,000 for each boy, invested carefully, set to mature when they turned 18. Marcus didn't know about that. I hadn't told him yet. It was going to be a surprise, a legacy. I helped Marcus get promoted at his company too, though he doesn't know that either. One of my old buddies from the plant had a son who was a regional manager at Marcus's firm. I made a call, had a conversation, made it clear that Marcus was a good kid, a family man, someone worth investing in. 6 months later, Marcus got the promotion. 30% raise, company car, the works. He told everyone at Sunday dinner that he'd earned it through hard work and dedication. Never mentioned my name, never even suspected that someone might have opened that door for him. I didn't mind. That's not why I did it. I did it because that's what you do for family. You open doors, you create opportunities, you give the next generation a better start than you had. My father taught me that. He was a coal miner who died at 53 with black lung and calluses thick as leather. He worked 16-hour shifts so I could go to high school, so I could be the first in our family to graduate, so I could have a life that wasn't spent underground in the dark. You give your kids better than you had, he told me on his deathbed. That's the whole point. That's why we do any of this. So I gave. I gave everything I had, everything I was, and I thought Marcus understood that. I thought he was grateful. The retirement dinner was his idea. Marcus suggested it about 4 months before I retired. We were all at their house for Thomas's 9th birthday party, and Marcus pulled me aside while the kids were running around the backyard with cake sugar energy. You know, Pop, he said. He called me Pop. Had started calling me that after Martha died, and I'd let him because I thought it meant something. You've got your retirement coming up in a few months. We should do something special, celebrate properly. I brushed it off. I don't need anything fancy, just dinner with the family. No, he insisted. You've worked for 47 years. That deserves more than just dinner. Let me organize something nice. You deserve it. He seemed so sincere, so genuine, looking me right in the eye with that earnest expression he gets when he's trying to convince you of something. Okay, I said. If you really want to. I do, he said. Let me handle everything. It'll be my gift to you. His gift. Those words echo in my head now. His gift. The dinner was held at the Riverside Country Club, the same place where I'd paid for his wedding 7 years earlier. Marcus reserved the private dining room, the one with the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the golf course and the river beyond. When I walked in that night, I was overwhelmed. There were 70, maybe 80 people there, co-workers from the plant, old friends, neighbors, my poker group, even people I hadn't seen in years. Sarah hugged me at the door. She was crying. "Dad, we're so proud of you," she said. 47 years, you did it. I hugged her back, feeling that swell of emotion that comes when you realize your kid actually sees you, actually appreciates you. "Thanks, sweetheart," I managed to say. Marcus was working the room, shaking hands, playing host. He'd put on a good 15 pounds since the wedding, filled out, looked more confident, more established. He was wearing a suit I didn't recognize, expensive, tailored, Italian, probably. I remember thinking, look at him. Look at what he's become. I helped build that. Pride. That's what I felt. Pride and gratitude that my daughter had married a man who would do this for me. God, I was stupid. We ate first. Prime rib again, Marcus's favorite. Apparently that was a theme with roasted vegetables and twice-baked potatoes. The club had put out their best china. There was wine, the good stuff, bottles that actually cost more than $8. People kept coming up to me, shaking my hand, telling me stories. Guys from the plant talking about the time I'd covered their shift when their kid was sick, or when I'd helped them file their union grievance, or when I'd taught them how to operate the new machinery so they wouldn't get laid off. I'd forgotten half of these stories, but they remembered. They all remembered. By the time dinner was over, I was feeling pretty good. Warm, appreciated, like maybe this whole retirement thing wasn't going to be so bad, like maybe I'd left something behind that mattered. Then Marcus stood up. He tapped his wine glass with a fork, and the room went quiet. "I want to thank everyone for coming tonight," he started. His voice was confident, smooth, the voice of someone who's used to being listened to. "We're here to celebrate an incredible man, a man who's given 47 years of his life to honest work and honest living." People nodded. Someone called out, "Here, here." Marcus smiled. "My father-in-law is someone I've admired from the moment I met him. Someone who taught me about dedication and sacrifice and what it means to be a family man." I felt Sarah squeeze my hand under the table. She was smiling, proud of her husband. "But tonight isn't just about celebrating his past," Marcus continued. "It's about acknowledging something important, something that needs to be said." He paused, looked right at me. "This family held me back for years." The room went silent, not the comfortable silence from before, a different silence, confused, uncertain. Marcus kept going. "When I married into this family, I inherited expectations. I inherited a certain way of doing things, a certain level, and for a long time I told myself that was okay. That family meant compromise, that love meant accepting limitations." He laughed. A few people laughed. With him, nervous, not sure if this was a joke. But the truth is, I've spent the last 7 years trying to live up to a standard set by someone who peaked at a union job at a manufacturing plant. And I realized something recently. I'm better than that. My kids are better than that. And tonight, as we celebrate my father-in-law's retirement, I'm also celebrating my own liberation from... He waved his hand vaguely in my direction. "From all of this?" More laughter now, louder. People thought he was being self-deprecating, thought he was making a joke about the generation gap or something. But I knew. I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't joking. "So here's to you, Pop," Marcus said, raising his glass. "Thank you for everything you've done, and thank you for finally stepping aside so the rest of us can move forward." The room erupted in laughter and applause, glasses raised. Someone slapped me on the back. "He got you good," one of my buddies said, grinning. Sarah was laughing too, though she looked uncertain. She glanced at me, trying to read my face. I smiled, raised my glass, took a sip of wine. Inside, something broke. I didn't say anything that night, didn't correct him, didn't defend myself. I just sat there, smiling, nodding, accepting handshakes and congratulations for 47 years of service, while inside I was replaying every sacrifice I'd made for that man, every check I'd written, every door I'd opened, every time I'd put his needs, his family's needs, above my own. The wedding, The rent, the down payment, the calls to get him promoted, the hours babysitting so he and Sarah could have date nights, the college funds I'd set up for his kids. All of it, and in front of 73 people. I counted them later, went through the guest list he'd left on the table. He'd reduced me to a limitation, an obstacle, something he had to overcome to reach his full potential. The union job that he'd peaked at, when that job had paid for his wedding, that job had kept him from being evicted, that job had put him in the house where his children were growing up, and he'd laughed about it, made it a punchline. I drove home alone that night. Sarah had offered to come with me, but I told her I was fine. Told her I was tired, that I wanted to go home and rest. She believed me, or she wanted to believe me. Either way, she let me go. I sat in my driveway for 20 minutes before I could bring myself to go inside. Sat there in my truck, the same truck I'd driven for 18 years, the one Martha always said I should replace, but I never did because it still ran fine and there were better things to spend money on, and I stared at my empty house, the house I'd lived in for 43 years, the house where I'd raised Sarah, where Martha had planted her roses and hung pictures on every wall, where we'd hosted Thanksgiving and Christmas and birthdays and graduations, the house that was supposed to be filled with family on nights like this. With celebration, with love. Instead, it was dark, empty, silent, because family was back at Marcus's house, probably laughing about the speech, about how funny it was, how perfectly timed, what a great roast of the old man. I finally went inside, didn't turn on the lights, just sat in Martha's chair. I'd moved it to my bedroom after she died, couldn't bear to look at it empty in the living room, and I sat there in the dark. And for the first time since Martha's funeral, I cried. Not because my feelings were hurt, not because I was embarrassed. I cried because I finally understood what I'd been refusing to see for years. Marcus didn't love me, didn't respect me, didn't see me as family. He saw me as a bank, a service, a means to an end. And now that I was retired, now that the well had run dry, now that I didn't have a paycheck coming in anymore, I was worthless to him. A limitation, something to be mocked, something to move beyond. I sat in that chair until the sun came up, and by the time the light started filtering through the curtains, something had changed inside me. The grief was still there, the hurt was still there, but underneath it, cold and clear and absolutely certain, was something else. A decision. Sarah called the next morning. I let it go to voicemail. She called again in the afternoon. I didn't answer. She showed up at my door that evening with Thomas and little Michael. The boys ran to hug me, talking over each other about how cool the party had been, how many people were there, how their dad had made everybody laugh. "Dad, are you okay?" Sarah asked. She looked worried. "You haven't been answering your phone." "I'm fine," I told her. "Just tired. It was a long night." "Marcus feels terrible," she said. "He said his speech came out wrong. He was trying to be funny. You know how he gets when he's nervous, but he thinks maybe it sounded—" "It was fine," I interrupted. "Really, tell him it was fine." She studied my face. "Are you sure? Because if he hurt your feelings—" "He didn't hurt my feelings, sweetheart. I promise." I wasn't lying. He hadn't hurt my feelings. He'd done something much worse. He'd shown me who he really was, and I'd finally been paying attention. That night, after Sarah left, I did something I should have done years ago. I went through my files, every check I'd written to Marcus and Sarah, every deposit I'd made into their account, every payment I'd made on their behalf. I'd kept records. Martha had trained me to do that. "Always keep records," she'd said. "You never know when you'll need them." The wedding, $32,000. The rent and hospital bills, $15,000. The house down payment, $65,000. The new roof they needed 2 years ago, $8,500. The car repair when Marcus's transmission died, $3,200. The cruise I'd sent them on for their 5th anniversary, $6,800. The furniture for the baby's nursery, $2,100. The emergency loan when Marcus was between jobs for 3 months, $12,000. School supplies and activities. For the boys over the years, $200. Emergency medical bills when Thomas broke his arm, $4,800. Various home repairs I'd paid for, $12,500. Christmas and birthday gifts, family expenses, $7,430. On and on and on. I added it up 3 times, checking my math, making sure I hadn't missed anything or doubled up. Total, $187,430. $187,430. That was what I'd given them over 7 years. Not loaned, given. No expectation of repayment, no contracts, no IOUs, just family helping family. And Marcus had stood in front of 73 people and said I'd held him back. I stared at that number for a long time. Then I opened another file, the one I'd been avoiding looking at since Martha died, my assets. The house, paid off, worth approximately $420,000 in the current market. The pension, $3,200 per month for life, plus a $280,000 lump sum option. The 401k, $340,000. The life insurance policy, $500,000. Martha's life insurance that I'd inherited, $250,000, sitting in a high-yield savings account because I couldn't bring myself to spend it. The vacation property up north, 40 acres, and a cabin on the lake that my father left me, worth maybe $180,000. The vintage car in my garage, a 1967 Mustang that I'd restored over 10 years, worth probably $75,000 to the right buyer. Total, approximately $2,045,000. $2 million. I sat back in my chair and laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh. Marcus thought I was a limitation, thought I'd peaked at a union job, thought I was something to move beyond. He had no idea what I was actually worth, no idea what he'd just insulted, but he was about to find out. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at Martha's old desk, the one she'd used to pay bills and write letters and organize our entire life, and I made a plan, not a revenge plan, or maybe it was. I didn't care what you called it anymore. I called it justice. I called it consequences. I called it teaching a lesson about respect and family and what it means to use people and throw them away when you're done with them. Marcus thought the gravy train had already stopped, thought that now that I was retired, now that I wasn't earning anymore, there was nothing left for him to get from me. He was wrong. There was my death, my estate, the inheritance that he and Sarah were probably already planning how to spend. $2 million, split between Sarah and whatever charities I decided to leave it to. That's what Marcus was waiting for. That's what the dinner invitations and the Sunday visits and the grandfather duties were really about. Making sure the old man didn't forget them in the will. Making sure they stayed on good terms with the guy who was going to make them wealthy when he finally died. Well, I had news for Marcus. I wasn't planning on dying anytime soon, and I was definitely planning on changing my will. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Bill Henderson had handled Martha's and my affairs for 30 years. Did our wills, our estate planning, helped us set up the college funds for the grandkids. He was semi-retired now, only taking cases for old clients, but he still owed me a favor. I need to make some changes, I told him when I got him on the phone. Changes to the will? He asked. Changes to everything. We met that afternoon at his office. I brought all my files, all my records, everything I'd compiled the night before. I want to set up a trust, I told him. Something airtight. Something that can't be contested. Bill nodded slowly, studying the paperwork I'd spread across his desk. What kind of trust? A family trust. For my grandchildren, Thomas and Michael. I want everything I have, the house, the money, the property, all of it, to go to them when they turn 25. Not to their parents, to them, directly. That's going to cause problems. Bill said carefully, your daughter's going to be upset. My daughter will understand, I said, eventually. And Marcus? I met his eyes. Marcus doesn't get a say. Bill was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. Okay, what else? I want to move most of my liquid assets into investments, things that will grow over the next 10, 15 years. I want those boys to inherit real wealth, not just money. I want them to have opportunities I never had, opportunities their father took for granted. How much are we talking about moving? Everything except what I need to live on. Maybe keep 200,000 accessible for emergencies and living expenses. Everything else gets invested. Bill whistled low. That's aggressive. I'm 72 years old, I said. I don't need aggressive. I need effective. I need to make sure that when I'm gone, my grandchildren understand what family really means, what sacrifice really means, what it means to build something that lasts beyond your own life. And what about those college funds you set up, the ones that mature at 18? Roll them into the main trust, I said. Everything goes to them at 25 now. That way they're old enough to understand what it means, old enough to handle it responsibly, old enough to have learned who was really there for them. Over the next 3 weeks, Bill and I met 4 more times. He brought in his partner to help draft the trust documents. We worked through every detail, every clause, every protection. By the time we were finished, I'd restructured my entire estate. The house, held in trust for Thomas and Michael, to be sold and split between them when they turned 25. The investments, approximately $1.6 million, to be professionally managed and grown over the next 15 years, then distributed to the boys. The life insurance beneficiaries changed from Sarah to Thomas and Michael. The cabin property, held in trust to be transferred to the boys when they turned 30. The Mustang to be given to Thomas on his 16th birthday, assuming he maintained a B average and stayed out of trouble. The college funds rolled into the main trust, now part of the distribution at age 25. Nothing to Sarah, nothing to Marcus. Are you sure about this? Bill asked me as I was signing the final documents. This is going to create a hell of a family rift. The rift already exists, I said. I'm just acknowledging it. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. Not because I'd hurt anyone, not because I'd gotten revenge, but because I'd taken control. I'd stopped being passive. I'd stopped letting people use me and mock me and take me for granted. I'd protected what mattered, my grandchildren, my legacy, the things I'd actually built instead of the things I'd foolishly given away. Marcus thought I was a limitation, thought I'd held him back. Soon, he was going to understand exactly what I'd actually been, his ticket to everything he had. And that ticket had just been revoked. The next few weeks were strange. Sarah kept calling, kept inviting me over for Sunday dinner. I went sometimes, played with the boys, helped Thomas with his homework, taught Michael how to throw a curveball in the backyard. But I watched Marcus differently now. I paid attention to how he talked to Sarah when he thought no one was listening, how he spoke to his children when they were being too loud or too messy, how he treated the waitress when we went out to dinner as a family. And I saw things I'd been blind to before, the way he corrected Sarah constantly. Little things, the way she'd loaded the dishwasher, the route she'd taken to the grocery store, how she'd handled a conversation with her friend, the way he spoke about his coworkers, his boss, even his own mother, always with this edge of superiority, this unspoken assumption that he was smarter, more capable, more deserving than everyone around him. The way he talked about money, about their house, their cars, their vacations, always comparing, always measuring himself against some invisible standard that kept moving just out of reach. And I realized Marcus wasn't grateful for anything he had. He was embarrassed by where he'd come from, embarrassed by the family he'd married into, embarrassed by the fact that he hadn't earned everything himself. The speech at my retirement dinner wasn't a joke. It wasn't a roast gone wrong. It was the truth. His truth. He genuinely believed I'd held him back, that my working class background, my union job, my simple life had somehow contaminated him, limited him, kept him from becoming whoever he thought he deserved to be, And that realization changed everything because it meant this wasn't about one bad speech, one moment of poor judgment. This was about character, about who Marcus really was when you stripped away the charm and the expensive suits and the family man performance he put on. And who he really was someone who used people, who took and took and took and then resented the people he'd taken from for not giving him more. Someone who would teach my grandchildren that their grandfather was a limitation, an embarrassment, something to overcome and move beyond. Not while I was still breathing, not while I still had the power to do something about it. I started documenting everything. Every Sunday dinner, I took notes, I observed, I remembered, I noted Marcus's face when Sarah suggested they invite me to their summer vacation, the flash of irritation before he covered it with a smile and said, "Of course, Pop, you're always welcome." I watched how he introduced me to his coworkers at a company picnic. "This is Sarah's dad," he said. Not, "This is my father-in-law," not, "This is Pop," just Sarah's dad, like I was some distant relation instead of the man who'd funded his entire adult life. I listened when he talked about the boys' future, about the schools they'd attend, the activities they'd do, the life they'd have. "I want them to have opportunities I never had," he said one Sunday over dinner. "I want them to understand that success is about merit, about working hard and earning what you get. Not about," he trailed off, glanced at me, then looked away. "Not about taking shortcuts." Taking shortcuts. That's what my help had been to him. Shortcuts. Unearned advantages that diminished his accomplishments instead of enabled them. I smiled and nodded and kept eating my pot roast, and I kept planning. 6 months after my retirement dinner, I got a call from Tom Bradshaw. Tom was an old friend from the plant, one of the guys who'd been at my dinner, who'd laughed at Marcus's speech. He'd retired 3 years before me, moved to Florida, spent his days fishing and complaining about the heat. "Hey, you'll never guess who I ran into," Tom said after we'd exchanged pleasantries. "Who?" "Marcus, your son-in-law. He was down here for some work conference at the Marriott. Had drinks with him and a few of his colleagues." I felt my jaw tighten. "Yeah? How'd that go?" "Funny thing," Tom said, and his voice had changed, gone careful. He was telling everyone about his career, about how he'd built himself up from nothing, about how he'd overcome a working-class background to get where he is. I didn't say anything. "He made it sound like he'd grown up poor," Tom continued, "like he'd struggled. And when one of his buddies asked about his family, about his wife's family," Tom paused. "He said something about how he'd had to distance himself from limiting influences to really succeed." My hand tightened on the phone. "Did he mention me by name?" "No. But when I asked how his father-in-law was doing, trying to give him a chance to make it right, he just changed the subject. And the thing is," Tom's voice dropped lower, "he wasn't joking, buddy. He wasn't making conversation. He genuinely believes it, believes you held him back, believes he succeeded despite you, not because of you." We talked for a few more minutes, but I barely heard what Tom was saying. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd signed the check for Marcus's down payment, where I'd helped him and Sarah plan their budget, where I'd held my grandsons when they were babies, and I felt something cold settle deeper into my chest. This wasn't just about the speech anymore. This wasn't one bad night, one poorly chosen joke. This was Marcus's actual narrative about his own life, his origin story. And I'd been edited out of it. No, worse than that, I'd been recast as the villain, the obstacle he'd heroically overcome. I pulled out my notebook, the one I'd been keeping since Bill's office, and I added a new entry: Florida Conference, Rewriting History, Erasing Contributions. The thing about observing someone is that you start seeing patterns. Marcus had always been image conscious. I'd known that, but I'd thought it was just normal ambition. normal desire to succeed. Now I saw it differently. He was obsessed with perception, with how he appeared to others, with crafting a narrative of success that fit some invisible script he'd written for himself. The expensive suits he wore now, Italian, tailored, probably $2,000 each. He had 5 of them. I counted, one for each day of the work week. The car he drove, a BMW sedan, leased not bought, but he never mentioned that part. Just let people assume he owned it. The watch, a Rolex Submariner that he wore to every family event. $40,000 on his wrist while he split appetizers at dinner to save money. The house had been renovated. I noticed it gradually over the course of Sunday dinners. New kitchen cabinets, hardwood floors replacing the carpet, fancy chandelier in the dining room, built-in wine fridge. Business has been good, Marcus said when I asked about it. Casual, like it was no big deal, but I knew what his salary was or what it had been a year ago, and unless he'd gotten another massive promotion, there was no way he could afford these renovations. So where was the money coming from? I didn't ask, I just observed. And I started to suspect that maybe Marcus's success story wasn't quite as solid as he wanted everyone to believe. Sarah looked tired. I noticed it one Sunday when I arrived early, before Marcus got home from his golf game. She was in the kitchen making dinner, and she had that look, the one my own mother used to get when money was tight and the bills were due, and she was trying to figure out how to make everything work. "You okay, sweetheart?" I asked. She jumped a little, like she'd forgotten I was there. "Oh, Dad. Yeah, I'm fine, just tired." "How are things, really?" She glanced toward the door, like she was checking to make sure Marcus wasn't home yet. "They're good. Busy. You know how it is." "How's work treating you?" "Fine. Good, actually. They gave me more hours, so that's good." More hours, not a promotion. More hours because they needed the money. I didn't push. I'd learned over the years that Sarah would talk when she was ready, not when you tried to force it, but I filed it away, added it to my observations. Something was wrong, something beyond the usual stress of raising 2 kids and maintaining a marriage. Sarah was worried about something, and she didn't want Marcus to know I'd noticed. 3 weeks later, I got confirmation. I was babysitting the boys while Marcus and Sarah went to work dinner. Thomas was upstairs doing homework, and I was helping Michael with a puzzle when he said something that made my blood run cold. "Grandpa, why did Daddy yell at Mommy about money?" I kept my face neutral. "What do you mean, buddy?" "Last night, I heard them fighting. Mommy was crying, and Daddy was yelling about credit cards and how she needed to stop spending." My stomach dropped. "I'm sure it was just a misunderstanding. Daddy said we might have to move, that the house cost too much." I pulled Michael onto my lap. "Hey, listen to me. Sometimes grown-ups argue about money. It's normal. It doesn't mean anything bad is going to happen." But inside, I was calculating the house, the one I'd given them the down payment for 7 years ago. What had Marcus done? That night, after Marcus and Sarah got home, after I'd said goodnight and driven back to my own house, I did what I should have done months ago. I opened my laptop and looked up their property records. It's all public information. The county keeps digital records of mortgages, refinances, liens. It took me about an hour to navigate the county website and figure out the search system. But eventually I found their house, and what I found made my blood run cold. Marcus had refinanced twice. The first time was 3 years ago. He'd pulled out $60,000 in equity. The second time was 8 months ago, just 2 months before my retirement dinner. Another $45,000, $105,000 extracted from a house they'd only been able to buy because I gave them the down payment. And based on the dates, that second refinance had happened right before he gave that speech at my retirement dinner, right before he'd stood in front of everyone and said I'd held him back. He'd pulled $45,000 out of the house I'd helped him buy and then insulted me in public. I sat back in my chair and stared at the screen. Marcus was drowning. That's what this was. The expensive suits, the car, the renovations, the golf club membership I'd noticed last month. He was living beyond his means. Way beyond, and he was doing it because he couldn't stand being seen as ordinary. Couldn't stand being the guy who'd married into a working class family and built a working class life. He wanted to be someone else, someone important, someone impressive, and he was destroying his family to do it. I started asking careful questions after that, casual conversations with Sarah. How's work going for Marcus? How are the boys' activities working out? Everything okay with the house? And piece by piece, I assembled the picture. Marcus had gotten promoted again, that much was true, but the promotion had come with a requirement to maintain a certain image, to wine and dine clients, to attend expensive events, to look successful. So he'd spent money on looking successful, on the suits and the car and the watches and the golf club membership and the renovations that made the house look like it belonged to someone who'd made it. But the actual income hadn't kept pace with the spending, so he'd used credit cards, refinanced the house, taken out loans, and now it was all coming due. Sarah had gone back to work full-time 6 months ago. I'd noticed but hadn't understood why. I'd thought maybe she was bored, wanted to get out of the house. Now I knew the real reason. They needed her income, desperately. Marcus had probably framed it as opportunity or career advancement, but the truth was simpler. They were drowning in debt and needed her paycheck to stay afloat. But even with 2 incomes, it wasn't enough. Michael's comment about moving? That wasn't just a fight. That was reality knocking on their door. They were going to lose the house I'd helped them buy, the house where my grandchildren lived. Because Marcus had been too proud to live within his means, too embarrassed by his actual life to accept it. Part of me, the part that still remembered holding Sarah when she was a baby, that remembered teaching her to ride a bike and helping her with college applications and walking her down the aisle. Part of me wanted to help, wanted to write another check. Fix the problem, save them. But I remembered the speech, remembered Tom's call from Florida, remembered Marcus's face when he talked about taking shortcuts and earning what you get. And I remember something my own father had told me years ago when I'd gotten myself into financial trouble in my 20s. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is let them fail, he'd said. Let them hit bottom. Let them learn that actions have consequences. Otherwise, they'll just keep making the same mistakes, expecting someone to bail them out. I'd been angry at him then, thought he was cruel, heartless. But 6 months later, when I'd clawed my way out of debt on my own, when I'd learned to budget and save and live within my means, I'd understood. He'd given me something more valuable than money. He'd given me the lesson that I was responsible for my own life, that I had the strength to fix my own problems. Marcus needed that lesson. He needed to learn that you can't live beyond your means, that image isn't the same as substance, that the people you insult and discard might be the same people who could have helped you. So I didn't offer to help. I observed and I waited. The call came on a Thursday afternoon in November. It was Sarah, and she was crying. Dad, can you come over, please? What's wrong? Are the boys okay? They're fine. They're at school. It's just, please, I need you. I drove to their house faster than I should have. Found Sarah sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by papers. Her eyes were red, her hands shaking. We're losing the house, she said. The bank, we're 3 months behind on the mortgage. They sent a foreclosure notice. I sat down across from her. Didn't say anything, just waited. Marcus he's been hiding it from me. The full extent of it. She wiped her eyes. I knew things were tight. I knew we were spending more than we should. That's why I went back to work full time. But I thought my income would be enough. I thought we were okay. She pushed the papers toward me. We're not okay. We owe $230,000 on top of the mortgage, and we don't have it. We don't have anything. I looked at the papers. Credit card statements showing balances of $15,000, $20,000, $30,000. Personal loans from online lenders with interest rates that made my teeth hurt. A second mortgage I hadn't known about. A third refinance, this one just 2 months ago. Marcus had been robbing Peter to pay Paul, and now both Peter and Paul wanted their money. Where is he? I asked. At work? He doesn't know. I found all this. He's been keeping it in his car in a briefcase, but She wiped her eyes. I needed something from his car this morning, and I found it. Does he know you called me? She shook her head. He'd be furious. He'd say I'm making him look bad, that I'm running to Daddy to fix things. Running to Daddy to fix things, because that's what I'd always done. Fix things, solve problems, written checks. Sarah, I said carefully, why did Marcus do this? Why did he spend money you didn't have? She was quiet for a long time. Then, in a small voice, because he's embarrassed. Of what? Of us. Of you. Of where we come from. She looked up at me, and her eyes were filled with pain. He thinks if he looks successful enough, if he acts like he's made it, then people won't know he married a factory worker's daughter, won't know he needed help to get where he is. So he's been pretending. Yes, and it's destroying us. I reached across the table and took her hand. Sweetheart, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. She nodded. If I fix this, if I pay off this debt, save the house, will Marcus learn anything from it? She opened her mouth, closed it, and I saw the answer in her eyes before she spoke. No, she whispered. He'll just resent you more. He'll see it as proof that he needed you, that he couldn't do it on his own, and he'll hate himself for it, and he'll hate me for asking you. And will he change? Will he stop spending? Stop trying to impress people? I don't know. She was crying again. I don't know anything anymore. I squeezed her hand. I love you. You know that, right? I know. And I love those boys more than anything in this world. I know that too. But I can't save Marcus from himself. And if I try, I'm just going to enable him to keep making the same mistakes. Do you understand? She nodded slowly. What should I do? You should talk to him. Tell him you know. Tell him you need to see a financial counselor together, figure out a plan, sell things if you have to, downsize, do whatever it takes to get out from under this debt. He'll leave me, she said. If I confront him about this, if I tell him we have to change our lifestyle, he'll leave me. I know he will. And sitting there, looking at my daughter's tear-stained face, I realized she might be right because Marcus didn't love Sarah for who she was. He loved her for the life she represented. The family she came from that he could simultaneously use and resent. The safety net he could fall back on while pretending he didn't need it. If that safety net disappeared, if Sarah stopped enabling his fantasy, he might very well leave. Then maybe you need to ask yourself if that's a marriage worth saving, I said quietly. She flinched like I'd slapped her. I'm sorry, I said, but someone needs to say it. You deserve better than this, better than a man who's embarrassed by where you come from, who uses your father's money while insulting him in public, who lies to you and hides debt and spends you into bankruptcy for the sake of his ego. He's my husband. He's the father of my grandchildren, and that's the only reason I haven't said this sooner. We sat in silence for a while, and then Sarah asked, what would Mom do? I thought about Martha, about her strength and her clarity and her unwavering sense of right and wrong. Your mother would tell you that you can't fix people who don't want to be fixed, I said. She'd tell you that sometimes love means setting boundaries, saying no, letting people face the consequences of their choices. Did you ever have to do that with her? Once, I said. Early in our marriage, she had a sister, your Aunt Linda, who was always in trouble, always needed money, always had some crisis, and your mother kept bailing her out, kept enabling her. What happened? Linda stole from us $5,000 from our savings account. She had a key to our house from when she'd stayed with us, and she just walked in while we were at work and took it. Sarah's eyes widened. I never knew that. Your mother was devastated, felt betrayed. But you know what the worst part was? Linda didn't think she'd done anything wrong, thought we owed her that because we had money and she didn't. It was fair game. What did Mom do? Cut her off completely. Told her that until she got help, until she took responsibility for her own life, we were done. And it nearly killed your mother to do it. She cried for weeks. Did Linda get help? Eventually hit rock bottom, lost everything, and then finally got her life together. And years later, she thanked your mother, said it was the best thing anyone had ever done for her. Sarah was quiet, thinking. Marcus isn't going to change unless he has to, I said. Unless the consequences become real, and you can't protect him from those consequences, sweetheart. None of us can. Sarah told Marcus that night that she knew about the debt. I know because Marcus called me at 11 p.m. and I'd never heard him like that before. Panicked, desperate. Pop, I need your help. I made some mistakes, got in over my head with some investments, and investments? I cut him off. That's what you're calling it? He was quiet for a moment. Sarah talked to you. She did. Look, I can fix this. I just need a bridge loan. $50,000 would do it, just to get caught up, and then I can... No. Silence on the other end of the line. What? I said, no, Marcus. But the house, Sarah and the boys, they're going to lose everything. You're going to lose everything, I corrected. You did this. You spent money you didn't have. You lied to your wife. You refinanced a house I helped you buy so you could play pretend rich guy. This is your mess. I can't believe this. His voice had changed, gone cold. After everything you've done for this family? I interrupted. Marcus, I've been tracking every dollar I've given you for 7 years. Do you want to know what the total is? I didn't answer. $187,430. That's what you've done for this family. You've taken my money and turned it into debt. I never asked you for... You never said no to it either. You never said, thanks, Pop, but I want to make it on my own. You took every check I wrote. Every time I offered to help, you took it. And then you stood up at my retirement dinner and told a room full of people that I held you back. That was... Don't tell me it was a joke. My voice echoed through my empty house. You meant it. Tom Bradshaw told me about Florida, about how you told your colleagues you came from nothing, how you'd overcome a limiting background. Was that a joke too? Marcus didn't answer. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to figure this out yourself. You're going to face the consequences of your choices, and you're going to learn what I learned when I was your age. That image doesn't matter. That stuff doesn't matter. That the only thing that matters is the people who love you and the life you build with them. And what if I can't? What if they foreclose? Then you move into something smaller, something you can afford. You get rid of the BMW and the golf club membership and the expensive suits. You live within your means. Sarah will leave me. If she does, that's between you and her, but if she leaves you because you can't maintain a lifestyle you can't afford, then maybe you need to think about what that means. You're really not going to help. It wasn't a question. It was realization. I helped you for 7 years, Marcus. I gave you everything, and you threw it in my face. So no, I'm not going to help you anymore. You know what? Fuck you. His voice cracked. Fuck you, and you're just pissed that I wanted better than what you had, that I'm not satisfied being some union grunt who... I had a 47-year career where I never missed a day of work, I said quietly. I had a marriage that lasted 48 years. I have a daughter who loves me and grandchildren who respect me. What have you got, Marcus? Debt? Lies? A house you're about to lose? He hung up on me. I sat there holding the phone for a long time, and then I called Bill Henderson. Bill? It's me. I need you to do something. The foreclosure happened in January. Sarah and Marcus lost the house, had to sell it at a loss to avoid having it repossessed by the bank. They moved into a rental, a small 3-bedroom in a different school district. The boys had to change schools mid-year. Marcus sold the BMW, started driving a used Honda. Sarah took on extra shifts at her job. And me, I observed it all from a distance, still showed up for birthdays and holidays, still saw the boys when Sarah brought them to my house, but I didn't go to theirs, didn't offer help, didn't write checks. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than watching Martha die, because at least then I'd been powerless. At least then there was nothing I could do. This time I had the power to fix everything. $2 million sitting in investments and savings accounts, and my daughter and grandchildren were struggling, but I held firm because I knew that if I caved, if I swooped in and saved them, Marcus would learn nothing, would face no consequences, would continue believing that success was about image instead of substance, and more importantly, I'd be enabling him to continue hurting Sarah and the boys. So I waited, and I observed as reality finally caught up with Marcus. Sarah called me in March. "Dad, can I come over? Alone?" She came that evening. Sat at my kitchen table, the same table where we'd had so many conversations over the years, and told me she'd asked Marcus for a separation. "I can't do it anymore," she said. "The lying, the blame, the way he talks about you, about us. The boys hear it, Dad. They hear him complaining about how we had to move, how everything would be fine if your family had just helped more. He's blaming me? He's blaming everyone but himself." She looked exhausted, and I realized something. You were right. He doesn't love me. He loves the idea of me, the family he thought he was getting, the life he thought he deserved, but the actual me, the actual us, were just disappointments to him. "I'm sorry, sweetheart." "Don't be. You tried to tell me. I wanted to believe he'd change, that if I loved him enough, supported him enough, he'd realize what he had." "Where is he now?" "At his mother's. He moved out last week." She wiped her eyes. "He's telling people I kicked him out over money, that I'm being unreasonable, that marriage is about sticking together through hard times. Is that why you're separating? The money?" "No. I'm separating because he told Thomas that you were the reason we lost the house. Told our 9-year-old son that his grandfather was selfish and didn't care about family." I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. "He said that to Thomas?" "Thomas came to me crying, asking if it was true, asking if you hated us. And I realized that I had to choose my marriage or my children. I can't let them grow up thinking that about you, thinking that the man who's loved them unconditionally their entire lives is the villain in their father's story." I reached across the table and took her hand. "You did the right thing." "Did I? The boys are devastated. Marcus is telling everyone I'm destroying the family. His mother called me yesterday and screamed at me for an hour about abandoning my vows." "You're protecting your children," I said. "That's what good parents do. They protect their kids, even when it's hard, even when everyone else thinks they're wrong." She nodded, but she was crying again. "What do you need from me?" I asked. "Just this, just you being here, just knowing that I'm not crazy, that I'm not the bad guy." "You're not. You're the strongest person I know. You're your mother's daughter." That made her smile a little. She would have kicked him out years ago, wouldn't she? "Probably. Your mother didn't suffer fools." We sat together for a while, not talking, just being. And I thought about how much I wished Martha was there. How much better she would have been at comforting Sarah than I was, but she wasn't there. So I did my best, and I started planning the next phase. Marcus's life unraveled quickly after that. Without Sarah's income, he couldn't afford even the rental. He moved in with his mother, who lived an hour away from the boys. His company passed him over for another promotion, his 4th in 2 years. Turns out when you can't maintain the image of success, when you show up in a Honda instead of a BMW, when everyone knows your life is falling apart, corporate advancement becomes a lot harder. He started missing his weekends with the boys. Too far to drive, too busy, too something. Thomas told me one Sunday that his dad's life was different now. He lives with Grandma, he said quietly, and he seems sad all the time. I bit my tongue and didn't say what I was thinking, but I remembered it, added it to everything else. In June, I got a call from an old friend I hadn't heard from in 15 years. Richard Chen. He'd worked at the plant when I started there, back in the 70s. Brilliant engineer, way overqualified for the job, but he needed work, and we'd needed someone who understood the machinery. He'd left after 5 years to start his own manufacturing company, and according to the business news, that company was now worth about $300 million. I heard you retired, Richard said after we'd caught up on family and health and all the usual topics, and I heard what happened at your retirement dinner. I shouldn't have been surprised. The manufacturing community in our area was small. People talked. Word travels, I said. It does. Ken Morrison was there. You remember Ken from shipping? He told me about your son-in-law's speech, about what he said. Richard's voice had an edge to it. And I've been thinking about that, thinking about you, about what you represent. I don't represent anything special, Richard. That's where you're wrong. You represent everything, and I want to make sure everyone knows it. He told me about the foundation. Manufacturing education, scholarships for kids whose parents worked in the trades, training programs, everything I'd wished existed when I was 18 years old. I want you to be on the board. Help me set it up. You know the community better than anyone. You know what these families need. I'm flattered, but there's a stipend, he interrupted, $50,000 a year, and we're going to name it after you. The Anderson Family Foundation for Manufacturing Excellence. I sat back in my chair. Richard, that's very generous, but why? Why me? Because you're everything your son-in-law pretended to be, he said bluntly. You're the real deal. 47 years of honest work, raised a good kid, helped everyone around you, and you did it without needing credit or recognition or fancy titles. You're what success actually looks like, and I want to make sure everyone knows it. Everyone? There's going to be a launch event, big fundraiser, lots of local business leaders, politicians, media. We're going to make it a real thing. Put your name on it, your face, tell your story, show people what real contribution looks like. And sitting there, listening to Richard lay out his plan, I realized something. This was it. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. The public lesson, the reveal, the proof that Marcus had been wrong about everything. When? I asked. September. Big gala at the Riverside Country Club. Same place where your retirement dinner was. I already booked it. Of course he did. Richard always was a dramatic bastard. Okay, I said. I'm in. Good. And one more thing. I want you to invite Marcus. I laughed. Why the hell would I do that? Because he needs to see it. Needs to understand what he threw away, what he insulted, what he could have had if he'd just had the decency to be grateful. He won't come. He will, because he won't be able to help himself. He'll need to see it, to know what he missed, to try to figure out how to spin it. Trust me, men like Marcus always show up to these things. Their ego won't let them stay away. Richard was right. Marcus would come. And when he did, he was going to learn exactly who I really was and what his disrespect had cost him. The invitation arrived at Marcus's apartment in late July. I know because Sarah told me. She'd gone to pick up the boys for her custody week and saw it sitting on his kitchen counter, unopened. The Anderson Family Foundation cordially invites you to the inaugural fundraising gala. She didn't tell him she'd seen it. Didn't mention it to me until later, when the boys were asleep and we were sitting on my back porch with iced tea and the sound of crickets. He's going to come, isn't he? She asked. Richard thinks so? Why? Why would he want to be there after everything that's happened after she trailed off? Because he needs to know, I said. Needs to see it with his own eyes, needs to understand what he was wrong about. Will it change anything? I thought about that. No, probably not. Men like Marcus don't change. They just get better at making excuses. Then why do it? Why put yourself through this? Because it's not about changing Marcus, I said. It's about the truth, about making sure the right story gets told, about making sure that when Thomas and Michael are old enough to understand, they know who their grandfather really was, not the version Marcus tried to sell them. Sarah was quiet for a long time. Then, Mom would be so proud of you. That hit me harder than I expected. I had to look away, out at the yard where Martha's roses were blooming in the twilight. Before I could speak again, your mother would have handled this better, I said. Would have known the right thing to say, the right way to do this. No, Sarah said firmly. She would have done exactly what you're doing. She would have protected her family. She would have set boundaries. She would have let people face consequences. She reached over and squeezed my hand. This is exactly what she would have wanted. Maybe she was right. I hope she was right. The 3 months between the invitation and the gala were strange. Richard and I met weekly to plan the foundation. We set up scholarship criteria, developed training programs, established partnerships with local trade schools and community colleges. The foundation would provide full scholarships to students whose parents worked in manufacturing, would fund apprenticeships and skills training, would create a pipeline from high school to good-paying careers in the trades. Everything I'd wished existed when I was 18 years old, looking at my father's destroyed lungs and wondering if there was a better way. This is going to help thousands of kids, Richard said during one of our planning sessions. Your legacy is going to change lives. My legacy. I'd never thought much about legacy. Never thought I'd done anything worth remembering. I'd just gone to work, done my job, raised my family, tried to be decent. But now, looking at the foundation we were building, I understood something. Legacy isn't about money, isn't about status or titles or how many people show up to your retirement dinner. Legacy is about what you build that lasts beyond you, the lives you touch, the doors you open for. The next generation, Marcus had spent years trying to build a legacy of success, of image, of being someone important. But he'd built it on sand, on debt and lies and disrespect. And when the tide came in, it had all washed away. I saw Marcus once before the gala. It was early September, a Saturday afternoon. I'd taken the boys to the park. It was my weekend with them, part of the informal arrangement Sarah and I had worked out, and Marcus showed up. He looked different, thinner, older. The expensive suits were gone, replaced by jeans and a polo shirt that had seen better days. His hair, which he used to keep perfectly styled, was longer, grayer, unkempt. "Hey, boys!" he called out, walking toward the playground. Thomas and Michael ran to him excited. They hadn't seen him in 3 weeks. He'd canceled the last 2 weekends. Something about work and his mother needing help and 100 other excuses. I stood back, observing. Not interfering. The boys needed their father, even if their father was a disappointment. After a few minutes, Marcus walked over to me. His hands were shoved in his pockets, his shoulders hunched. "They look good," he said. "Happy?" "They are." Silence stretched between us. The kind of silence that's heavy with everything that's been said and everything that never will be. "I got the invitation," Marcus finally said. "To your foundation thing." "Richard's foundation. I'm just helping." $300 million, Marcus said. There was something in his voice I couldn't quite identify. "Richard Chen, you worked with him?" 45 years ago, he started at the plant same time I did. And now he's worth $300 million and naming a foundation after you. Life's funny that way. Marcus laughed, but it was bitter. "Yeah, hilarious." "You don't have to come," I said. "If it's going to be uncomfortable, I'm coming." He looked at me directly for the first time. I need to see it. Need to understand how a guy who spent 47 years in a factory ends up with a foundation named after him while I'm living in my mother's spare bedroom dodging calls from creditors. "You want to know the difference between us, Marcus? Please, enlighten me." "I was never embarrassed by what I had," I said. "Never pretended to be something I wasn't. Never sacrificed the people who loved me for the sake of impressing people who didn't. Easy to say when you had I had the same thing you had, I interrupted. A job, a family, a chance to build something real. The difference is I was grateful for it. You were ashamed of it. He stared at me, and for just a moment I saw something in his face. Not anger, not resentment, recognition, the truth, hitting home. But then it was gone, replaced by the familiar defensive wall. I'll see you at the gala, he said. He walked back to the boys, hugged them goodbye, and left. I watched him drive away in his used Honda, and I felt something I hadn't expected. Pity. Not for what he'd lost, but for what he'd never understood he had. The night of the gala arrived with perfect September weather, cool evening air, clear skies, the kind of night that makes you grateful to be alive. I wore my best suit, the one I'd bought for Martha's funeral, the one I'd sworn I'd never wear again because it carried too many painful memories, but tonight felt different. Tonight felt like honoring her memory, not drowning in it. Sarah came with me. She looked beautiful in a dark blue dress, her hair done, makeup perfect. She looked like her mother had looked at 35, strong and graceful and unbreakable. You ready? She asked as we pulled into the country club parking lot. I think so. Dad, whatever happens tonight, I want you to know something. I looked at her. I'm proud of you, she said. Not because of the foundation or the gala or any of this. I'm proud of you because you stood your ground. Because you let me make my own choices even when it hurt you. Because you loved us enough to let us fail. That's real love. That's the kind of parent I want to be. I couldn't speak, could barely see through the tears that had suddenly filled my eyes. She hugged me, and for a moment we just sat there in the parking lot, father and daughter, holding on to each other the way we had when she was little and scared and needed to know that someone would always be there. Okay, she finally said, pulling back and wiping her eyes. Let's go show everyone who you really are. The ballroom was stunning. Richard had spared no expense. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, flowers everywhere. A stage at the front with a podium and a massive screen showing the foundation logo. The Anderson Family Foundation for Manufacturing Excellence. My name, in letters 3 feet high. I stood in the doorway and stared at it, overwhelmed. Impressive, right? Richard appeared at my elbow, grinning. We went all out. This is too much. No, this is exactly enough. Trust me. The room was already half full. Business leaders in tuxedos, politicians, media, people I recognized from the plant, dressed in their Sunday best, looking around with wide eyes at the fancy venue. And there, near the bar, looking uncomfortable and out of place, Marcus. He'd worn a suit, one of the expensive ones from before, but it didn't fit quite right anymore, hung loose on his frame. He was alone. Apparently living in his mother's spare bedroom didn't come with a +1. Our eyes met across the room. He lifted his drink in a mock toast. I nodded back, and I thought, it's time. The dinner was excellent. Prime rib again. Apparently that was just what this venue did. I was seated at the head table with Richard, the mayor, a state senator, and several prominent local business owners. Sarah was next to me, squeezing my hand under the table every time someone said something nice about me. Marcus was somewhere in the back. I couldn't see him from where I was sitting, but I knew he was there, could feel his eyes on me. After dinner, Richard stood up to give his speech. He was a natural speaker, confident, charismatic, funny. He told the story of working at the plant, of being a young engineer who didn't know anything about the real world, and how I'd taken him under my wing. This man taught me more about leadership in 5 years than I learned in 4 years of engineering school, Richard said, gesturing toward me. He taught me that success isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the most decent, the most reliable, the most willing to help others succeed. People applauded. When I left the plant to start my company, Richard continued, I took those lessons with me, and every success I've had, every breakthrough, every achievement can be traced back to what I learned from this man about integrity, about work ethic, about treating people with respect. More applause. Louder now. And when I decided to start this foundation, there was only one person I wanted to name it after. Only one person who embodied everything we're trying to teach the next generation. The screen behind him lit up with pictures. Old photos from the plant, me in my 20s, working on machinery, me in my 40s, training new hires, me at my retirement dinner, surrounded by friends and coworkers. And then, the final picture, me with Martha, taken at our 40th anniversary party. Both of us gray-haired and wrinkled, but smiling at each other like we were still 25. This is a man who understood what really matters, Richard said quietly, who built a life of meaning and purpose and connection, who gave everything to his family and his community without ever asking for credit or recognition. He turned to look at me directly. This is a man who, despite being insulted and disrespected by someone he'd helped for years, chose to respond with dignity and grace, who chose to build something lasting instead of seeking revenge, who chose to create opportunity for others instead of tearing others down. The room was silent now, everyone listening. I saw Marcus shift in his seat. Even from here, I could see his face had gone pale. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Anderson Family Foundation and the man we're honored to name it after. The applause was deafening. People were standing, the whole room on their feet, clapping and cheering. Sarah was crying beside me. Go on, Dad, it's your turn. I walked to the podium on shaking legs. I hadn't prepared a speech. Richard had offered to help me write one, but I declined. Told him I'd know what to say when the time came. Now, standing in front of 300 people, I wasn't so sure. I gripped the podium and looked out at the crowd, found Sarah's face, tear-streaked and proud, found the guys from the plant, my old friends, grinning at me, found Richard nodding encouragement, and found Marcus standing in the back, his face unreadable. I don't really know what to say. I started. I'm not used to being the center of attention. I'm more comfortable in the background, doing the work, letting other people take the credit. A few people chuckled. But Richard asked me to be part of this foundation, and I said yes for one reason, because I remember what it was like to be 18 years old, watching my father die from a job that destroyed his body, and wondering if there was a better way. The room was silent again. My father was a coal miner, never finished high school, worked 16-hour shifts in the dark so that I could have opportunities he never had. And on his deathbed, you know what he told me? I paused, remembering that moment. The hospital room, the sound of his labored breathing, his calloused hand gripping mine. He said, "You give your kids better than you had. That's the whole point. That's why we do any of this." I looked directly at Marcus, and I believed him. I spent my whole life trying to give the next generation better than I had, better opportunities, better chances, better lives. I worked at the plant for 47 years, and I don't regret a single day of it, because that job, that union job that some people think is something to be ashamed of, that job gave me everything that mattered. It gave me stability, security, the ability to raise my daughter, to support my family, to help people when they needed it. That job paid for my daughter's college education, paid for her wedding, paid for the down payment on her first house, paid for everything that mattered. People were nodding. The plant workers were nodding especially hard. But somewhere along the way, I learned something painful. I learned that not everyone sees help as help. Some people see it as an insult, as proof that they're not good enough on their own, as something to be ashamed of. Marcus's face had gone pale. I learned that some people would rather destroy themselves trying to appear successful than accept help and actually be successful. That some people value image over substance, perception over reality. And I realized that the greatest gift I could give those people wasn't more help, it was consequences. It was letting them learn what my father taught me, that you don't build anything real on a foundation of debt and lies and disrespect. That true success isn't about impressing people, it's about being someone worth respecting. I paused, took a breath. This foundation exists because of two men. My father, who taught me about sacrifice and putting family first, and Richard Chen, who understood that success creates an obligation to give back, to open doors for others the way doors were opened for you. I looked back at Richard, then back at the audience. We're going to give thousands of kids the chance my father gave me, the chance to build good lives in honest work, to not be ashamed of where they come from, to understand that there's dignity in every kind of work as long as it's done with integrity and pride. And maybe, just maybe, we'll teach them something else too, that the people who help you aren't holding you back. They're lifting you up. And the mark of real character is how you treat the people who helped you get where you are. The applause started again, building and building. I looked at Marcus one more time. He was staring at me, his face a mask of emotions I couldn't quite read. Shame, maybe. Anger, recognition, regret. And then he turned and walked out. I watched him go, but this time I didn't feel relief. I felt ready, because the real lesson was still to come. After the speeches, after the fundraising auction that raised another $2 million for the foundation, after all the handshakes and congratulations and photos, I finally had a moment to breathe. I was standing outside on the terrace overlooking the golf course, the same view I'd had at my retirement dinner 18 months ago when Sarah found me. "He left," she said. "I know." He looked, I don't know, shaken. "Dad, did you see his face during your speech?" "I saw it." She came and stood beside me, both of us looking out at the darkness. "There's something I need to tell you," I said. "What?" "After your mother died, after I saw how Marcus really felt about this family, I made some changes. To my will, to my estate." Sarah turned to look at me, her face suddenly careful. "What kind of changes?" "Everything I have. The house, the investments, the pension, the property up north. All of it is in a trust now. For Thomas and Michael, they get it when they turn 25. She was quiet for a long moment. "And me? You're the trustee until they come of age. You'll manage it, make sure they're taken care of. But the money goes to them, not to you, not to Marcus." "How much are we talking about?" "About $2 million, maybe more, depending on how the investments grow over the next 15 years. Sarah let out a long breath. $2 million, and Marcus doesn't know. Nobody knows, except you, and Bill Henderson, my lawyer. And now, after tonight, Marcus is going to find out." "How?" I pulled an envelope from my jacket pocket. "I'm going to tell him." I found Marcus in the parking lot, sitting in his Honda with the door open, his head in his hands. I knocked on the roof of the car. He looked up, startled. "Can we talk?" I asked. He stared at me for a long moment, then nodded. We stood there between the cars, the sound of the gala still audible from inside the building. "That was quite a speech," Marcus said. His voice was flat, empty. "It was the truth." "Was it?" "Because it felt like you were talking about me, calling me out in front of 300 people." "I never said your name." "You didn't have to." He laughed bitterly. "Everyone in that room knows what happened at your retirement dinner. Everyone knows I'm the ungrateful son-in-law who insulted you after you'd helped us for years. Is that what you think? That I did this to embarrass you? Didn't you?" I pulled out the envelope, handed it to him. "What's this?" "Open it." He did. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a summary of my estate, the trust document header, the beneficiaries listed, Thomas Anderson, Michael Anderson. Marcus read it again. His hands started to shake. $2 million, he said quietly, give or take. "And it all goes to the boys. When they turn 25, yes?" He looked up at me, and for the first time in years, I saw him clearly. Saw past the ego and the defensiveness and the shame. Saw the man he might have been if he'd made different choices. "Nothing to Sarah," he said. "She doesn't need it. She's got a good job. She's got strength. She's got character. Those boys will need more than money. They'll need to understand what it means to build something real. And me? I get nothing. You never were going to get anything, Marcus. You were never part of the equation. The money was always for Sarah and her children, not for you." He stared at the paper in his hands. "When did you change it?" "The day after my retirement dinner. The day after you told a room full of people that I held you back." "Jesus Christ." His voice cracked. I didn't know. I didn't know you had. I thought you were just what? Just a factory worker who peaked at a union job?" He flinched. "You spent 7 years being embarrassed by me?" I said. 7 years resenting the help I gave you. 7 years rewriting your history to erase me from it. And you never once stopped to ask what I was actually worth, what I'd actually built." "I fucked up," he whispered. "I know that now. I knew it the moment I gave that speech, but I was too proud to admit it, too ashamed to apologize." "I know. So why are you telling me this now? Why show me what I've lost?" I looked at him, really looked at him, and I remembered the nervous young man who'd shown up at my door 7 years ago with an $8 bottle of wine, the man who'd cried when I gave him the down payment, the man who'd called me Pop. "Because those boys deserve to know their father," I said. "Not the man you've been, the man you could be. And you can't be that man until you understand what you're really fighting for. It's not money, it's not image, it's not proving you're better than where you came from." "Then what is it?" "It's being someone they can respect, someone they can trust, someone who shows up. Not because you want something, not because you're keeping score, but because they're yours and you love them." Marcus was crying now, actual tears running down his face. "I don't know how to do that," he said. "I don't know how to be that person." "Then figure it out. You've got 15 years before those boys inherit anything, 15 years to show them who you really are, to build a relationship with them that's not based on money or resentment or shame." I turned to walk away. "Pop?" Marcus called out. I stopped, turned back. "I'm sorry. For, all of it. For the speech, for Florida, for everything I said about you, you deserved better." "Yes," I said. "I did. But this was never about what I deserved. It was about teaching you what really matters. Whether you learned it or not, that's up to you." I left him there in the parking lot, holding that piece of paper, finally understanding what he'd thrown away. Not money, respect, gratitude, family, the things that actually matter. 2 weeks after the gala, I got a letter. Not an email, an actual handwritten letter, delivered by mail. It was from Marcus. "Pop, I've started this letter a dozen times and thrown it away, because there's no way to say this that doesn't sound like I'm making excuses or asking for something. But I need you to know I heard what you said at the gala, every word, and I understood it even though I didn't want to. You were right. About everything, I was ashamed of where I came from, of needing help, of not being self-made, and I spent years trying to erase you from my story because acknowledging you meant acknowledging that I didn't do it alone. I thought if people knew you'd help me, knew you'd given me money, opened doors, made calls, they'd think less of me, think I hadn't earned it. But standing in that ballroom, watching 300 people give you a standing ovation, watching your name go up on that foundation, watching people who've known you for decades talk about your character and your integrity, and then in the parking lot, when you showed me what I'd really lost, I realized something. You were never the thing holding me back. I was. My shame, my pride, my need to be seen as someone I wasn't. I destroyed my marriage, alienated my kids, bankrupted myself, all because I couldn't accept that being helped isn't the same as being weak. That family isn't a limitation. that you were offering me a gift and I threw it in your face. I can't fix what I broke, can't undo what I did, can't take back what I said. But I want you to know, Thomas and Michael deserve to know who you really are. Not the version I tried to sell them. I'm getting help, therapy, financial counseling, trying to figure out who I actually am under all the pretending. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm just asking you to keep being there for my sons. Keep showing them what real success looks like, what real character looks like. And I'll try, God help me, I'll try to be someone they don't have to make excuses for. Marcus. I read the letter 3 times, then I folded it carefully and put it in the drawer with all my other important papers, with the records of the checks I'd written, with the photos of Martha, with the trust documents for the boys. I didn't respond to it. Not because I was being cruel, but because there was nothing left to say. Marcus was right. He couldn't fix what he'd broken, couldn't undo the damage. But maybe, just maybe, he could stop making it worse. Maybe he could step back and let Thomas and Michael be raised by people who understood what really mattered. Maybe that was enough. 6 months later, the foundation awarded its first scholarships. 25 kids, children of factory workers, miners, construction workers, mechanics, kids who'd grown up watching their parents work hard jobs for modest pay, wondering if there was something better waiting for them. We gave them full rides to technical schools, to community colleges, to apprenticeship programs that would teach them skilled trades. We gave them what my father had given me, a chance. At the scholarship ceremony, I met a young woman named Rosa, 18 years old, daughter of a machinist at the same plant where I'd worked. She'd been accepted to the State University's engineering program, but couldn't afford it until now. "Thank you," she said, shaking my hand with tears in her eyes. "Thank you for seeing us, for remembering where you came from, for not being ashamed of it. Not being ashamed of it." That phrase stuck with me because that was it, wasn't it? That was the whole lesson, the thing Marcus had never learned. There's no shame in where you come from. There's no shame in the help you receive. There's no shame in honest work, in family support, in building something slowly and steadily instead of chasing some impossible image of instant success. The shame is in the forgetting, in the disrespect, in the taking without gratitude. That's where Marcus had failed. And standing there watching Rosa and the 24 other scholarship recipients celebrate with their families, I realized something. I'd won. Not because I'd hurt Marcus, not because I'd gotten revenge, but because I'd protected what mattered. I'd set boundaries, I'd let consequences happen, and I'd redirected my legacy toward people who would appreciate it, who would use it well, who would pass it on to the next generation. That was victory, not revenge. Justice. Thomas is 11 now. Michael is 8. They spend every other weekend with me. I pick them up from school on Wednesdays. We go to baseball games and help with homework and work on the old Mustang together on Saturday mornings. Marcus sees them twice a month. He's consistent now, at least. Shows up when he's supposed to. Pays his child support on time. He moved out of his mother's place and into a modest apartment. Got a new job with a different company. Lower title, but better fit. He's learning, maybe. Slowly. Painfully. But that's not my concern anymore. My concern is the boys, making sure they grow up knowing they're loved, that they're valued, that they come from people who worked hard and sacrificed and built something real. Last month, Thomas asked me about the foundation. "Grandpa, why did Mr. Chen name it after you?" We were working on the Mustang's engine, his hands covered in grease, his face serious, because he wanted to honor the lessons he learned from me, I said, about hard work and integrity and helping others. "Did you really work at the factory for 47 years? I did. Was it hard? Sometimes, but it was honest, and it gave me everything that mattered. It gave me your grandmother, it gave me your mother, and eventually it gave me you." He was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then Dad says factory work isn't good enough, says he wants us to go to college, get better jobs. I felt my jaw tighten, but I kept my voice calm. There's nothing wrong with wanting your kids to have opportunities. That's good, but there's everything wrong with thinking some work is beneath you. Some people aren't good enough. Dad used to say you held him back. He doesn't say that anymore. Why? Here it was, the question I'd been waiting for. Your father and I disagree about a lot of things, I said carefully. But I never tried to hold him back. I tried to help him. And sometimes people confuse help with limitation because accepting help means admitting you can't do everything alone. So he was wrong? I think your father was confused about what success means. Thought it was about money and status and impressing people. But real success is about character, about being someone your kids can be proud of, about building something that lasts. Thomas nodded slowly. Like the foundation? Like the foundation. I'm proud of you, Grandpa. Those 5 words, they hit me harder than Marcus's speech, harder than the betrayal, harder than anything, because they meant I'd succeeded, despite everything, despite the pain and the consequences and the hard choices. I'd raised a daughter who understood love and boundaries, and she was raising sons who understood respect and character. That was legacy. That was victory. Martha died 3 years ago, but I still talk to her. Sit in her chair in my bedroom, look at her picture on the nightstand, and tell her about my day. I think you'd be proud, I told her last night. The foundation is helping kids. Sarah's strong. The boys are good. Marcus is trying, I think. We did okay, didn't we? Despite everything? And sitting there in the darkness, I could almost hear her voice. You did more than okay. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. You protected our family. You taught the right lessons. You built something that matters. I'm proud of you. I always was. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe it was just what I needed to hear. But it felt true. And after everything, after all the pain and betrayal and hard choices, truth was all that mattered. The Anderson Family Foundation has helped 243 students in its first 3 years. It's grown beyond anything Richard and I imagined, expanded to 5 states, raised over $15 million, created partnerships with dozens of companies, providing not just education, but job placement, mentoring, ongoing support. And every single student who receives a scholarship hears the same speech I gave at that first ceremony. You're not getting this because someone feels sorry for you. You're getting it because you earned it, because you come from people who work hard and sacrifice and build real lives. There's no shame in where you come from. There's only shame in forgetting where you came from once you've made it. So take this opportunity, use it well, and when you've succeeded, and you will succeed, remember to reach back. Help the next person, open the next door. That's how we build something that lasts. That's legacy, not money or status or having your name on a building. Legacy is the lives you change, the doors you open, the lessons you teach, the proof that where you come from matters less than where you're going, as long as someone believes in you enough to give you a chance. And that's what I did for Marcus. I gave him chance after chance after chance. He squandered them, resented them, threw them in my face. But I don't regret giving them, because that's what family does. We give chances, we offer help, we open doors. And when those chances are refused, when that help is disrespected, when those doors are slammed shut, we don't destroy ourselves trying to force them open. We move on. We build something better. We create legacy somewhere else with people who understand its value. Marcus called me last week. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Pop? His voice was hesitant. I know you're busy. I wanted to tell you something. What? Thomas told me what you said about factory work, about dignity in honest labor. And I realized I've been teaching them the wrong thing, teaching them to look down on the very people on the very man who made their life possible. I didn't say anything. "I'm trying to do better," he said. "I know it doesn't change anything, but I wanted you to know. I'm trying." "Good," I said. "Those boys are watching. Make sure they see something worth respecting." There was a long pause, then, "Thank you for not giving up on them, for being what I couldn't be. I'm not doing it for you, Marcus. I'm doing it for them. I know that now." After I hung up, I sat there for a while, thinking. Marcus would never be the man I'd hoped he'd be, would never be the son-in-law I'd imagined when he first showed up with that $8 bottle of wine. But maybe he'd be good enough for his sons. Maybe he'd learn to show up, to be present, to be honest about his failures instead of hiding behind pride and shame. That wasn't forgiveness, but it was enough. I'm 74 years old now. The foundation is thriving. My grandchildren are growing into good young men. Sarah is happy, strong, building a life on her own terms. And Marcus is learning, slowly, painfully, what it means to be a father instead of a performance. People ask me sometimes if I have any regrets, if I wish I'd handled things differently. And I tell them the truth. No, I don't regret standing my ground. Don't regret letting consequences happen. Don't regret protecting what mattered. Because sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is letting them fail, letting them hit bottom, letting them learn that actions have consequences, even when it hurts, even when it costs you, even when everyone thinks you're wrong. That's not revenge. That's love, real love. The kind that chooses principles over comfort, that sets boundaries instead of enabling, that builds something that lasts instead of something that crumbles. Marcus thought I held him back. He was wrong. I lifted him up, and when he refused to appreciate it, when he mocked it, when he tried to erase it, I didn't destroy him. I just stopped lifting, and I used that strength to lift others instead. That's not revenge, that's wisdom, and it took me 74 years to learn it, but I learned it finally, and that's enough.